Elk said, we didn't deserve that point, need players. Yeah, we were lucky. I've no problem sitting here admitting that we were lucky. I don't think we deserved anything from that game. We were disjointed all over the park. So, we got very lucky to get to... Look, I think it was a penalty. Genuinely, I don't think that the ref did us a favour there. I think that was a penalty and very well dispatched by Szoboszlai as well. Amteki said Liverpool defending is so passive. Tackle FFS. Exactly. Like, anybody out there that's watching this now that played football at any level knows that textbook situation for the Newcastle second goal was exactly how you take a yellow card. Step up, block off the man, body check him, take the booking, reset, defend it. But we went back to doing what we were screaming about last year, which is jockeying and dropping off and almost daring him to shoot. And he did. And he put it in the net. And we were 2-1 down 3 minutes after equalising. Now, you don't blame that on Iriola. You don't blame that on a lack of investment. You blame that on Virgil van Dijk and his defenders. Because that's where the problem is. The jockeying and the passive defending needs to stop. And what really makes it frustrating for me is we didn't see that in pre-season. We were defending high up the pitch with aggression. So how all of a sudden do we go back and revert back to type? Virgil can make as many stirring speeches in the media as he wants. Ultimately, he's the fucking leader. And he ain't doing much leading. And he ain't setting my example. And it needs to be called out. Because I'm fed up of listening to him. And I'm fed up of hearing him talk about what needs to be done. If people don't want to fight for the cause, they should leave the club. Well, Virgil, you ain't leading by example, my man. That was passive defending at its best and not good enough. So if Virgil wants to start calling out other people for their lack of effort, he needs to look in the mirror. Because he ain't leading any defence there. That was pathetic yet again. And passive defending from somebody who should know a lot better. Chad said the only thing that was enjoyable about this was spoiling the party for Newcastle deep in stoppage time for the second year in a row. Iriola deserves better from the club as big as Liverpool. So do we. Exactly. I'm certainly not going to be starting to call out the manager or anything at this point. I need to call out the recruitment team again. Because how can every fan and their dog know what we need, but the club with a straight face brief journalist to say that Liverpool don't think we need a DM and Iriola system? Now, that's coming from a journalist from The Athletic. Think about that. The creme de la creme of paid content. And a journalist from The Athletic with a straight face is telling you club sources think that Liverpool don't need a DM because of Iriola's double pivot system, ignoring the fact that he played with one at Bournemouth, ignoring the fact that they know damn well we need one. I'm going to say what James Pearce doesn't have the courage to say. Liverpool didn't sell McAllister and the cheap owners don't have the appetite to bring in a DM. That's what he'll refuse to say, but that's the truth. Liverpool expected to get an offer in for Maka, they planned on selling him, and they were going to bring in a DM. But that offer never became forthcoming, so guess what? The narrative gets changed, and the journalists, like the good little lapdogs that they are, continue to do the club's bidding for them, while the fans and everybody else suffers because of it. Not good enough, very fucking clear what the problem is. So to say, as a journalist that covers football, that Liverpool don't think this team needs a DM, when ex-pros, other pundits and fans all around the world know very clearly that one, we need a DM, and two, the system also needs a DM because he fucking played with one at Bournemouth, you spoofers. Genuinely given up, Isak, he stinks. I mean, look, to be fair to Isak, he didn't get much service. And I'm not saying that he tore the pitch up or played well, but he didn't get much, you know. And it's tough because he can only exist off what he gets, right? And we're not like we're sitting here talking about 2 or 3 Isak sitters that he missed. The only one I can really think of is he had a left-footed shot on the edge of the box that he did slice and it went high. But after that, I mean, we just need to be better at getting the ball into him. We need to understand his movements better, and that's where the wide players come into the mix. So, you know, that's where I'm at with Isak anyway. I'm not saying he was brilliant or anything, but he wasn't the problem for me in that game today. Bok LFC said, buy a DM and some wingers. Munoz was good. Gakpo was all right, but defence diabolical. Awful, criminal, no words for that. Wirtz was criminal too. Yeah, the Wirtz stuff is starting to get a little bit distressing. You know, it is. Like, I can't hide away from it. I love the lad. I want him to do well. But it feels like, and I've tried to explain it this way, you know the way there's that gifted kid in school that is struggling because things are too slow and they're not being challenged. Wirtz feels like that as a footballer, except he's the one that's actually causing the issue. Like, we know the good qualities that he has. We know he's good in tight spaces. But when it comes to the simple things, releasing a ball, playing a 5-yard pass, he's switching off mentally. And he's turning over possession a lot. And then, as I said, our DM gave away the ball for both their goals that we were countered in. And guess what? There was nobody in the middle of the park to mop it up. You couldn't make it up. And I've been saying this all pre-season. Go and watch any of our friendlies and you'll see me screaming over and over again about not giving away the ball in the final third because of the bodies we commit in attack. If you give away the ball, you're on your heels, going in the wrong direction, and they've got players like Alanga who are lightning quick, and it was just 10 seconds, 15 seconds, the ball's in the other end and in the back of the net. And then the second time, we didn't learn our lessons either. He could have stepped up and defended it, but no, we were passive and we fell back. Said, go ahead and shoot. He did, and it's in the back of the net. Curtis said, so lethargic and one-dimensional. Take the point, though. Yeah, I mean, look, the point certainly feels like a point gained after the performance rather than 2 points lost. I mean, you struggled to say we even deserved a point from it. We were just flat and we never got into any type of a controlling situation in the game at all. As somebody pointed out, a lot of inexperienced Newcastle youngsters in that team as well. And we just didn't step up to it. We just looked passive all over the place. James Hart said, CDM has to happen. Right back, Wirtz needs to wake up. Yeah, that looked like, unfortunately, I don't know, I can only speak for me, but I was optimistic after the last preseason game with Frimpong at right back, but today it just went back to type again, just messy, cutting inside, losing the ball. Kirke's over-hitting crosses. There's just loads of simple things that could be better. But again, a lot of it has to start with the right attitude. So let's quickly just take a look at some of the stats from the game. Possession-wise, it was 61% for Liverpool, 39% for Newcastle. Again, Liverpool with a whole load of shots here, 27, but 20 of them off target, 7 on target. Newcastle, 13 shots, 4 on target. Total passes, 440 for Liverpool, 84% passing accuracy, which did rise up in the second half there by about 7 or 8%, I think. Newcastle, 293 passes, 76% passing accuracy. Only 1 offside for Liverpool in the game, 6 corners to Newcastle's 2. You know, that's kind of the stats from the game anyway, but it's more about the performance, isn't it? Because we can see what the problem is and we can see how far off we are. Owen said, very lucky to get a point. If we don't sign players, it's going to be a long season. Yep. And we also know as well, when we do sign the players, they have to get up to speed. They have to get up to pace. And that's going to take some time as well. Right, where are we at? Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to submit your player ratings, the link is pinned to the comments. If you'd like to join, all you have to do is click on that link. It'll bring you into the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp, which is where you can submit your player ratings. There's a form in there, and they'll be averaged out by Connor, and we'll compare and contrast them to mine. But do make sure that you do. A lot of overreaction for the first game. No, Ryan, it's not overreaction. That's points dropped in the first game against the weak Newcastle. How is that overreaction? We should be winning these games, mate. The overreaction comes from the fact that we're so pissed off that we're seeing the same issues that weren't addressed all the way through last year. Nobody's sitting here spouting about Iriola. Nobody's talking about any tactical failures. We're talking about the same issues, mate, that we've had every season. So it's not an overreaction. It's absolutely understandable that people are fed up seeing the same things happening over and over again. You know, what's to say? The definition of madness is doing the same things all the time and expecting a different outcome. This is ridiculous. Our club just let players continuously run down their deals and walk out the door and are too cheap to replace them. I mean, I think fans are perfectly within their rights to be a bit annoyed about this, mate, in all honesty.